You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. If you're listening to this show, chances are you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees. Whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades, every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, that music means it is time to stop what you're doing because it is time for your Hot Options Report for Friday, September 12th. Hope you had a great trading week. Let's wrap it up with some breakdown, shall we? Let's kick it off out there in the land of VIX. Was it a hot day in VIX land? The answer was yes. Nearly 1 million contracts, 901,000 contracts on the tape in VIX on Friday. That's against an ADV of 877. So coming in a little hot, a little spicy. That ADV also pretty spicy for this time of year. Your hot option out there in VIX land on Friday, 109, almost 110,000 of these SEP 16 puts. Average price of about 83 cents, so they're not giving those away. But then again, VIX cash did close right around 14 3/4. As we keep on rolling out to the land of SPY, was it a hot day out there in SPY land? The answer was almost, about 7.4 million. The ADV is nearly 8 million, about 7.9 million. So coming in slightly light in SPY land, even though the hot option was pretty hot, 625,000. Of these 658 calls, average price for those, 56 cents. SPY, unfortunately, going out a little bit shy of 657.5. So unfortunately, if you bought those around that average price and rode them into the close, not a winner chicken dinner for you. As we keep on rolling out to the S. Was it a hot day in the SPX on Friday? The answer was almost there as well. 3.8 million on the tape for the S against an ADV of about 4 million contracts. That's a pretty spicy ADV for the S as well. So bear that in mind. The hot option out there on a decently hot day in the SPX, 228,000 of these 6,600s. Average price for those bad boys, $1.63, and unfortunately the S going out 65.84 and about a quarter on Friday. So an interesting day in the S as we keep on rolling. Was it an interesting day in small caps? The answer was also, it was pretty active. The ADV is nearly 1.5 million, putting up about 1.25 million contracts on Friday, so pretty close. The hot option on a decently hot day in small caps, 75,000 of the 240 calls, again, expiring on Friday. Average price of about 16 cents. And unfortunately, if you bought those, small caps going out 238 and about a third on Friday. And let's round up our index roundup with a little bit of NASDAQ action. Was it a hot day in the Qs? The answer was, again, pretty decent. Not quite the ADV. We're pretty close. 3.86 million contracts going up in the Qs against an ADV of almost 4.2 million out there. And the hot option in the Qs, 278,000 of the 586 puts, again, expiring on Friday. The Qs going out 586 and about 2/3. So if you paid the average price of nearly 46 cents, not a winner chicken dinner for you. But if you sold them, you had to grit your teeth a little bit, but you did all right at the end of the day. As we keep on rolling out to the single name land, was it a spicy day on the single name equity option front? The answer was yes. 873,000 contracts on the tape to kick things off. You know, it's a wild day when we're kicking it off, number 10 with Righetti. Getting back out to the wild world of quantum computing. Righetti closing slightly north of $19, $19.09, and the hot option out there, the monthly September 20. So expiring next week, listeners, 93,000 of these bad boys changing hands for about 67 cents. 20 strike, not that far out of the money for a quantum name. You got a whole week to get there. You like those? Would you rather say sold to you for 67 cents, listeners? As we keep on rolling to number 9, AMD, 877 on the tape for them. The hot option in AMD on Friday is the 160 calls, expiring, of course, on Friday, changing hands 106,000 times for an average price of about 30 cents. And unfortunately, AMD going out a little bit north of 158.5. So you know the deal. If you bought those and rode them into the close, not a great day for you. As we keep on rolling to number 8, it's Palantir, 1.09 million contracts on the tape. The hot option in Palantir, 104,000 of the 170 calls, of course, going out on Friday as well. Average price for those, 51 cents. And this time, if you bought them and rode them into the close, you did all right. The stock closed nearly 171.5, 171.43. So those went out, listeners, almost $1.50 in the money and nearly $1 past your break-even point. So not a bad trade at the end of the day. All right, and coming in at number 7 with 1.28 million contracts, it's our old pal Oracle. You knew Oracle had to be on the list somewhere. It's been a wild week, rallying 100 handles intraday, closing up 80-odd handles. We talked earlier in this week, it was north of 300, got up to 330, 340, and it was the par puts, the 300 puts, that were dominating the tape on our hot options report, even that same day when it was rallying, and it seemed interesting. They're going up for around $1 and change. Even then, with their 30, 35 handles out of the money with only a few days to go, it seemed like an interesting choice. It seemed like folks were really fading this big pop in Oracle, and that turned out to be the right play, listeners. If you bought those for $1.05, $1.10, $1.40, what they were trading for on some of our earlier hot options reports this week, you are laughing all the way to the bank. Oracle going out on Friday, $292.18. So those puts going out nearly $8. Not a bad do at all. The hot option out there in Oracle on Friday. Interestingly enough, flipping the script, 82,000 of the par calls, the 300 calls, going up for an average price of 81 cents. So I guess if you rolled the bones on those and rode them into the close, not a great trade, but the puts, just an absolute banger if you bought those earlier this week, listeners. Absolutely wild stuff. Oracle all over the place this week. As we keep on rolling to number 6, listeners. This is a name we don't talk about on our top 10 really ever. It's Altria, ticker symbol MO, Mo. And one of the reasons we don't talk about them, you'll see in a second, they put up 1.28 million contracts as well, but they also went ex-div. And that's, of course, going to gum up the works. If you see a name leaping onto your volume screens, listeners, and it's a name you don't normally see, and there's nothing else really going on that would drive that kind of paper, and then you see that is going ex-div, well then, you know, there's a lot of quote-unquote fake volume going up in that name, trying to game and capture dividends out there, and that's what's going on in Altria, number 6, 1.28 million. Another telltale sign, there's a lot of dividend play action going up in this name. If you look here, the hot option, 217,000 of the SEP 60s. Why is that interesting? Well, the stock went out 66 2/3 on Friday. So a very meaty, nearly $7 option. You don't see that very often as well. And why is that? Well, div plays, that's how they work. Traders like to put up a lot of back and forth trades, wash trades, verticals, all sorts of things on these in the money strikes with a lot of open interest in an attempt to capture that dividend. And that's what we're seeing in number 6. And we're also seeing it in number 5, UNH coming in 1.33 million. Now we've seen them on the tape for other reasons lately as well. On Friday, it looked like it really was going ex-div. That was gumming up the works. Why is that? Well, UNH going out 352, listeners, 352.5. And the hot option on UNH, nearly 170,000 of the par calls, the 300 calls. Again, over a $50 in the money option. Not a typical option to light up our hot options report. And again, a sign that someone's having a little fun trying to capture a dividend out there and putting up a lot of contracts to do it. The reason why we say it's fake volume is that at the end of the day, it's a lot of back and forth trades that signify no real economic intent. They're just looking to capture a dividend and generate no net position at the end of the day. But it does tend to gum up the volume tape, something you should be aware of if you're not really familiar with how dividends impact options or div plays, all those types of things. Make sure you subscribe to the full network and check out our options bootcamp program, listeners. It'll get you up to speed. As we keep on rolling to number 4, it's the fruit company Apple, putting up nearly 1.5 million contracts on Friday. The hot option in Apple, 178,000 of the 235 calls expiring on Friday. Average price of about 21 cents. Stock closed a little bit north of 234, so unfortunately, same deal there. If you bought them, rode them into the close, not exactly a happy day for you, but the flip side, you only spent 21 cents, so it's not going to break the bank. As we keep on rolling to number 3, our old pal Open. Just a wild ride. This has been on north of 10, nearly 11 bucks not too long ago. Closing on Friday, a little bit north of 9 bucks, so giving back over $1 out there. Just absolutely wild stuff going on in Open. Putting up 2.25 million contracts on Friday as well. The hot option out there, 226,000 of the 9 puts. Again, this is index volume we're talking about here, listeners. Absolutely wild. 9 puts, average price 14 cents. You know the deal. Close north of 9 bucks. If you rode them into the close and you bought them, not exactly a great do, but again, only 14 cents. So not the most expensive of flyers that we've seen. And make no mistake, just about any options trade in Open right now is a complete flyer. As we keep on rolling to number 2, it's Nvidia. Yes, number 2. Nvidia, 2.7 million contracts. Stock closing 177.82, so a decent level for Nvidia. The hot option in Nvidia on Friday, 261,000 of the 177 halves. Average price of 58 cents. The bad news is you didn't break even on these. The good news is if you held them into the close and you bought them, then you didn't lose that much. You only lost about 20-odd cents on these bad boys. So again, not the most expensive lesson at the end of the day. As we keep on rolling to the number 1 spot, we've already talked about Open. We've already talked about Oracle. We've already talked about Nvidia. What is the number 1 spot out there? Well, I'll give you a hint. What name haven't we talked about yet? Usually hanging out at number 2. Yeah, it's Tesla. Tesla roaring back to life, up 27 handles, about 7.3%, closing just a few bucks shy of 400, 395.94, getting back close to that north of 400 level it was back before the big sell-off, the rout happened in the stock. Kind of interesting contrasting headlines out there because they're doing well on their battery pack energy storage business, up about 18%, but they can't move an EV to save their life. That's down 18%. You think those would be contrasting headlines, but the storage side seems to be taking the lion's share of the headlines and accounting for this massive move in the stock. And it was the power calls. Hope always springs eternal in Tesla. Didn't quite get there, 396.69, but didn't stop folks from rolling those bones on the power strike. The 400s traded hands nearly 360,000 times on Friday. My goodness, average price 69 cents. Again, the stock closed shy of 396, so you know what I'm going to say. If you bought those, rode them into the close, not a great day for you. But then again, 68 cents, probably not going to break the bank unless, of course, you did 360,000. Then a little bit of a different story. But a wild day, a wild end to the week for the Hot Options Report. I hope you enjoyed all the episodes that came at you this week. I hope you also enjoyed everything else coming at you on the network. Usually 2 to 3 shows hitting you a day, well over a dozen shows on the full network. Yet another reminder, you need to be subscribed to the full Options Insider radio network feed, wherever you get the Hot Options Report. And then, of course, if you're ready to go to the dark side, you love unusual activity, you love asking questions to the best and brightest in the world of options and derivatives, you love live streams and prizes and giveaways and exclusives and all sorts of fun. Only place to get it all, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. Either way, that's going to do it for us on the network this week. I hope you had a great trading week. Have a great weekend. Get out there, get away from your screens. We'll see you back here on Monday for the option block all the way through till after the close and another episode of the Hot Options Report. Oh, yeah. And stay safe out there, everybody.
Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play.